Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. It's great to be here on this brisk day in Georgia. Thank you all so much for being here to spend Shabbat with us as we bring in these 25 hours of peace and rejuvenation and relaxation. We hope to also light that fire of spirituality and that sacred holiness that comes with Shabbat in each of us during our time together. My name is Rabbi Max Miller, and actually it's been like 6 weeks since I've been here because of different vacations and the Israel trip, and so it's really wonderful to be back and seeing so many faces that I haven't seen in a few weeks and maybe a few months. And of course, we are here with at the debut Shabbat service of our cantorial soloist, Jessica Tillum.
Hello.
You can clap, yeah. So to enjoy this Shabbat, you need a few things, and first of all is a siddur. So if you didn't walk in and grab a blue siddur, they are in the back, right over there in a cart by Mr. Steve Florsheim, and he can hook you up. Also, take a time to turn off Apple Watches, make sure cell phones aren't going to buzz, that medicine timers aren't going to go off. It's the middle of July, so there's no sports going on, I don't think, except for baseball. So nothing should keep us between our prayers and the special feeling that we are trying to create this Shabbat. In case we need to leave in a hurry, there is an emergency exit over there in the back on my left, over my left side, and there are exits in the rear and over on this side. Let's take a moment, wish our neighbors Shabbat Shalom, welcome each other into this space so that we can have an even warmer, if it's possible, Shabbat.
Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom, Yafe hayom, Shabbat Shalom.
So we've come from all different parts of the city, maybe all different parts of the state, as we are joining together for Shabbat. And let's leave everything that was outside of this space, outside of this sanctuary, this beautiful place in nature, on the outside, so that we can renew ourselves, starting from a clean slate as we enter Shabbat. So find a nice place for your back on the chair, make sure you're comfortable. We'll do a little breathing together if you want to close your eyes or enjoy the beautiful surroundings of our forest. You can find a nice place to fix your gaze. We close our eyes and take in a deep breath together. And let it out. Drawing ourselves closer to the coolness of Shabbat, to the brisk breeze of this wonderful place. We take in a breath together. And let it out. With a third breath, we find ourselves in our seats, grounded, ready to experience the Shabbat for ourselves and as a kehillah. Deep breath in and out. Now it's my pleasure to invite up Carol and Mel Burzak and David Tillum to light our Shabbat candles for us, proud parents and husband of Jessica Tillum. And we are going to rise on page 120 for the candle lighting. Come around here.
Amen. Auf geht's.
We know that we're outside and that these candles might go out. Don't worry, it's only natural. So if you would like to light your own Shabbat candles this Shabbat, please do so. We have a table of candles that you passed as you walked in. We ask that you put your mask on as you enter the synagogue, as we sing Shalom Aleichem, as we pray for these angels to watch over us this Shabbat. If you would like to light the fire of your Shabbat, please go ahead and do so at this time. We're on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuni L'Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitem L'Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai lai lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai lai lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai.
Please be seated. We turn to page 138 for Lecha Dodi, this prayer celebrating the beauty of Shabbat. And it's plain to see that beauty when we are out in a space such as this with the flowers blooming, the sky so blue and white, and the green of the trees around us. We welcome in the beauty of Shabbat together. Lecha Dodi, page 138.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 Penei Shabbat, nekabela, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 Penei Shabbat, nekabela, Shamor v'zachor, v'dibor echad, Hishmiyanu ilham yuchad, Adonai echad, v'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'li tehila, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 Penei Shabbat, nekabela, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, yalalai, 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 Penei Shabbat, nekabela, likrat Shabbat, l'chu v'nilcha, ki mekor averacha, merosh mekidem, nesucha, sof ma'aseh Shabbat Tehila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. B'nai Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. B'nai Shabbat nekabela, hitorari, ki ma'orei kumi uri, shir taberi, kavod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. B'nai Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. B'nai Shabbat nekabela.
We rise and face the entrance of our sanctuary.
Boi v'shalom, ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha uv'tola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala.
Turn back.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. B'nai Shabbat nekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. B'nai Shabbat nekabela.
Page 146, we continue with Baruch Hu.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Hu Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
We continue with Roll into Dark as eventually the evening will come this evening on the back inside cover of your Sidurim.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night.
We steady ourselves, finding our feet firmly on the ground, our head held high, concentrating on the words of the page 152, or closing our eyes and concentrating on God. We continue with words of Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated. We turn to page 154 for words of Ve'ahavta, this prayer that reminds us of all the many ways that we know that we are Jewish, all the many reminders that we need, that we want, that we require, that we should leave every room thinking of our Judaism on the mezuzah, that we should wake up in the morning, falling asleep at night with words of Shema on our lips. We join together in these words, page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים בעיניהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We join together in these words of freedom, the words of Mi Chamocha, our ancestors sang so many eons ago, page 158.
Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'alim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osei feled, Nora tehilot osei feled. Malchutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei hayom lifnei Moshe, Zeili anu v'yameru, Zeili anu v'yameru. Adonai Imloch leolam vaed. Adonai Imloch leolam vaed. Mi chamocha ba'alim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osei feled, Nora tehilot osei feled.
Page 160, our prayer asking for that peace that comes in the evening, that peace that comes with our sleep each night, and we pray that we wake up each morning to life renewed. Page 160, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomrinu Spread the shelter of our peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim. One more time. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim.
Page 162, that Shabbat is not supposed to be just a moment of relaxation, but it's also supposed to be moments of joy, that we come together, that this can be something that we look forward to, that this should be something, a part of our week that we can't wait for. We join together with Vishamru, this melody that reminds us that Shabbat is also full of so much joy. Page 162.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. Beini ubein b'nei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashemayim v'et haaretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat v'yinafash, Shabbat v'yinafash, Shabbat v'yinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam berit olam.
This didn't make it into our service outline. This is what I'm going to give my sermon.
Perfect.
Still working out the kinks. So you've heard the phrase, they couldn't see the writing on the wall. But I bet you didn't know that it comes from the Tanakh, comes from the book of Daniel. Don't worry, you're forgiven if you've missed studying that book in the Tanakh. It's not like we get around to it very much on Saturday Torah study. It's not really one of those books. It's far at the end of the Tanakh, and it comes even after Esther. And so it takes us a little bit before we can get around in our lives to even looking at it. But that important phrase, he really couldn't see the writing on the wall, and I'll tell you why that's important. It's a shame because there's a lot of text to glean from the book of Daniel. I'll give you a quick play-by-play. Maybe you know about the lion, and when I say Daniel, you think, oh, lion pit, if you've heard the song. But there's more to the story of Daniel. Daniel's a prophet, a dream interpreter, much like Joseph from way back in Genesis. And the book of Daniel is set in the time right after the destruction of the first temple. After the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar destroys Jerusalem, Daniel becomes enslaved to the king, and the king has a dream. And what's funny about this is the king won't tell anybody the dream, but wants people to interpret it. And no one is able to do it. Many people die in the process, but Daniel comes forward and is able to divine the meaning of the dream with the help of God. And though the meaning is a negative dream, the king is actually going to die at the end of this dream and dies in real life. The king still praises Daniel and praises the God of the Israelites, our God. As a character, King Nebuchadnezzar isn't generally looked upon very kindly. He's the one who destroys Jerusalem. He's a pretty awful guy, except in the book of Daniel, where he's still this terrible guy who destroys Jerusalem, but he actually has moments of redemption. This king, Nebuchadnezzar, realizes the error of his ways. He repents. He realizes that he has done something grievously wrong, and he asks God for forgiveness. Now, he isn't granted forgiveness. He actually is eventually killed in an untimely way in the story, but he realizes that he has done something wrong and looks to Adonai, looks to our God, rather than his Babylonian gods, for redemption. So that's part one of the Daniel story. I didn't talk about lions. I didn't talk about writing on any walls. Part two of the Daniel story, of the book of Daniel, is focusing on the relationship between Daniel and the king that comes after Nebuchadnezzar. He has an even more fun name. It's Belshazzar, which just sounds like a villain, and he is a villain in the story. He is the wicked guy. He is the Haman of the story of Daniel. After King Nebuchadnezzar dies, Belshazzar comes into power. He's not exactly a king. He's more like a viceroy, just kind of like Haman. And whereas Nebuchadnezzar has the moments of redemption, Belshazzar, in this evil-sounding name, is actually damned. What happens is at the very beginning of the story part of Belshazzar, he's giving a huge feast, like a king Ahasuerus. It's this big feast. There's lots of women. There's lots of alcohol. There's probably debauchery of all kinds happening here. And we get the sense that this guy is a pretty bad guy. He is probably drunk. He is very full of himself, has a lot of ego and a lot of hubris. And in the middle of this party, God sends a severed hand and with blood writes on the wall a phrase. Now, no one can see the hand that's happening. Only the readers, we know about it. But we know that there's something that God wrote on the wall and that no one here can see. And if they can see it, they can't interpret it. And so Belshazzar calls upon his reliable, trusty dream interpreter from the Israelites. He calls upon Daniel to come and explain it to him. Daniel comes in, and he says that the phrase is actually something that predicts Belshazzar's untimely death, that he's going to be assassinated. And Belshazzar doesn't believe it. He thinks Daniel is lying. He is ready to kill Daniel until he is untimely assassinated. And that's where we get the phrase, he couldn't see the writing on the wall. He didn't realize that his death was prophesized right in front of him. He should have been able to see it. It was on his wall, written in blood by a severed human hand floating in the air. You'd think you would notice something like that. But he couldn't. He didn't see it. It's no coincidence that in this week's Torah portion, Balak, we encounter another foreign king, Balak, with another prophet, another foreign prophet, Balaam. Folks who mirror our same relationship that we just had with Daniel and with King Nebuchadnezzar and King Belshazzar. King Balak wants to curse the Israelites, destroy them, and employs the apparently world-renowned prophetic services of Balaam the prophet. We know that it was world-renowned because actually in history, and we have archaeological evidence that Balaam was a guy who appears throughout the Mesopotamia, and there's evidence that this guy really existed, and he was known far and wide for his prophecies. In the Torah, we actually have Balaam talking with God, something that no other foreign prophet should be able to do, but Balaam is actually able to. And Balaam asks God, can I go and help out King Balak? Can I serve him? He's asking me to curse the Israelites, who I already know are your people. What should I do? And God tells him once yes. He asks the second time, God says no. And then the third time, God says yes. So Balaam's a little confused. You'd give him a break for being so confused about what exactly he should be doing. But us as the reader, why would we want God to curse his own people? Balaam should have seen the writing on the wall. He should have realized that whether or not God was saying yes or no, this was likely a test. This wasn't an option that God was giving to Balaam. There's no way that God would want a prophet who had such powerful capabilities to curse the Israelites, to curse God's people. And so we see not once, but not twice, 3 or 4 times, Balaam is stopped, first by an angel of God wielding a sword in the middle of the road that he can't see, that only his donkey can see. He can't even see the angel with a flaming sword in the road. And then, every time he opens his mouth to follow the curses that Balak orders him, the only thing that come out is blessings. And from this story, another famous phrase that we've all heard is Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. Prayer we don't sing on Friday nights, but we sing on Saturday mornings. This curse, well, it was meant to be a curse, came out of the lips of a foreign prophet and turned out to be a blessing of our people. Now, Balaam couldn't have known that was going to happen. Balak couldn't have known that was going to happen because they couldn't see the writing on the wall. They couldn't realize what was in front of them. And for the most part, we only know that and we can only appreciate that because we have hindsight, because we're the Monday morning quarterback looking at the details of this story and saying, well, of course you shouldn't have done this. You see how this ended up. And that's the trouble with trying to see the writing on the wall, which is you can only see it with hindsight. It actually takes prophetic vision, like we've seen in the Torah, the Tanakh, to be able to see the writing on the wall. Our challenge as Jews, our challenge as human beings is to try and channel even just a little bit of that prophetic ability to see what is standing in our way. What are the signposts on our road? What do we need to be wary of? What is keeping us from success? And what should be scaring us, perhaps, or helping us to rise to the challenge as well? That would be truly seeing the writing on the wall, to rise above those who were full of hubris and ego, and instead, perhaps, to humble ourselves and to squint very closely at that wall and hopefully to see what direction we ought to take. Shabbat Shalom. Page 164, we continue with the Amidah, and let's to ask everyone to please rise.
Adonai sifata tiftachu fi yagita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot U'Mekfi Gula Livnei B'neihem L'man Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai Mechayeh Kol Atarab Lehoshia Mechakel Mechakel Chaim V'Chesed Mechayeh Hakol V'Rachamim Rabim Zomech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim Umatir Asurim Umechayeh Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot Umidom Elach Melech meimit u'mechaye u'matzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'simcha kadosh u'kdoshim b'chol yom ya'alu haselah. Baruch atah Adonai Magen HaKadosh.
We take a few moments for our own silent prayers and reflections. If you'd like to use those prayers written in the Siddur, close your eyes, open your ears and your heart and your mind, and use those prayers written on heart, mind, and soul. When your prayers have been completed, I invite you to take a seat.
Yehiyu liratzonim reifi vehegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai tzuri vegoali
As we wait for the microphone to get here for our co-president, Bill Kellert, to say the announcements, I'm over there looking at Steve Florsheim to see if he's on his way. And he's turning around, so it doesn't look like it's out. Wait, maybe. He's coming. All right, good. So it is the middle of July, and so things are a little bit sleepier at Temple Emanu-El, but there is a lot happening in the month of August as we approach the school year and the programmatic year for our synagogue, and you're going to get to hear all about it as our co-president, Bill Kellert,
What a vamp.
is here to tell us all about what's happening at Temple Emanu-El this beautiful Shabbat.
After I catch my breath. Good Shabbos. It's wonderful to see you all and be able to celebrate Shabbat together tonight. First, you wouldn't know. First, a thank you to our ushers this evening, Bev and Mickey Stahl, Susan Moskowitz, Joanne Cole, and Linda Satloff. We appreciate your help this evening. I'd also like to thank our maintenance staff and Selma, as well as Stephen, our clergy, and Jessica, for being able to pivot so well when we received notification of the additional precautions we needed to take tonight. And speaking of Jessica, isn't she wonderful?
Thank you.
I truly am enjoying the music you share with us and look forward to listening to you for months and years to come. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
Now, a few events. Tomorrow morning at 8:30, have a Kaddish Minyan, Hever Torahs at 9 o'clock, and then a Tat Shabbat at 11. And Wednesday of next week, have a live, in-person lunch and learn with Rabbi Rachel. The class is entitled The Talking Donkey in Torah. Now, I know there's a joke in there somewhere, but I'm not going there. And finally, the last event I wanted to bring up was the rabbis Rachel and Max are hosting a Shabbat dinner on Friday, July 29th for the Next Door group, singles and couples in their 20s and 30s. And registration can be made online. So you see, there's something here for everyone. Did you know that 75 years ago this week, the ship President Warfield was sailing towards Palestine with 4,515 Jewish refugees aboard. On July 17, 1947, that ship was renamed Exodus 1947. It's a fascinating story and a wonderful movie. Finally, if you're visiting or a new member, after services, we'd appreciate it if you'd introduce yourself to me and the clergy so we can personally welcome you if we've not already met. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Bill Keller going above and beyond the call of duty. So don't get too comfortable because we're going to need the mic for Sheikh Yanu. But no, you're going to, yeah, that's you. So it is wonderful to be together, and our community gets that much closer and warmer when we share those happy moments that we've enjoyed over the past week, that we've been able to maybe enjoy with our families or by ourselves. If they're small, if they're large, whatever they are, we hope that you'll share something from your week. So raise your hand, and then Bill Keller will come over to you and give you the mic, say your name, and tell us that thing that brought a smile to your face from this past week. I see a past present over there. Making it very difficult for his understudy, successor.
So this week we celebrated my bride's birthday this week. So it was a lovely week for us.
Mazel tov. Other happy moments from this week. Yeah.
Yes, here we go.
Hello, I'm Bob, and it's my bride's birthday this week too. Wow. She's a young 34, but on each side.
Well said. Mazel tov. Others. Well, I'll say that on Wednesday, I had the, and I'll let you go. And then I had the rare privilege to not only do a bris, which is something that we do a bit here, but it's really special when you get to do it for dear friends and family, in fact. And so as friends and family welcomed a beautiful baby boy into the world, it was wonderful to be there with them as their rabbi. They're members of Temple Emanu-El, don't worry, and really, really special moment. Hilda.
I'm Hilda Wilson, and I'm just glad we're all here and alive.
Amen.
And well.
Amen. Others. Jessica.
My sister-in-law got engaged last week.
Oh,
yeah.
Mazel tov.
To a nice Jewish boy. Yeah, we're very excited.
We joined together with a Shehechianu, a prayer of gratitude for enabling us, for thanking God for enabling us to reach this wonderful moment in time.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
And as a community, we know how important it is to support one another, not only in these happy moments, but also when we are in need of health, when we are in need of healing. In our congregation, we are praying for the Refuah Shlema, the complete healing for Liba Malka Bat Zvi, Pamela Rishfeld, David Ben Label, Benny Edelson, Gary Cantor, Jerry Bialis, Deborah Gilbert, Harris Friedman, Charles Kahn, Brett Samsky, Leslie Greenberg, Shmuel Ben Devora, Meir Ben Rachmiel Vedina, Ashish Sharma, Ken Schiffer, Helen Ray, Kathy Cook, and Michelle Lappin. If you are praying for the healing of a loved one or for yourself this Shabbat, I invite you to say their name or your name aloud or in your heart as my hand passes over you. With all of these names said aloud and said in our hearts, we rise and join together. And if you'd like to put an arm around those next to you in your family, friends, or in our congregational family, I invite you to do so now at this time as we join together in a Mishaberach Lecholim, a prayer of healing for the sick. Page 371 in the middle, if you'd like the words.
Avotenu Mekor habracha imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishaberach imotenu Mekor habracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We remain standing for Kiddush, found on page 123. And with our new COVID guidelines, I'm going to ask for those who are under the age of bar bat mitzvah to remain with your parents. Don't worry, you can take a break. Don't worry about the social anxiety. We join together, page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Barei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon inkilanu, zikaron l'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom tehila lamikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta, V'otanu kidashta mikol hamim, v'shabbat kadshecha b'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh hashabbat. Amen.
L'chaim. We remain standing for Aleinu L'Shabeach, found on page 586.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu kamish bechod ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegoralenu kechol hamonam, vanachnu korim, umishtachabim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lamelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. As we come to the close of our service, we do so in memory of loved ones who have died in recent days or in years past. We remember and are thinking of those families who are in Shloshim, the first 30 days mourning the loss of a loved one for Joel Reish, Suzanne Gallant, Michelle Levy, and Autumn Frenchman. And those yahrzeits which occur around this Shabbat for Irma Axe, Sybil Barnett, Donald Berman, Jill Chalif, Raina Cohen, Jean Rosenberg Cohen, Edith Cohen, Cyril Dembo, Sarah Dibner, Murray Edelson, Rita Florsheim, Martin Friedlander, Jack Futterman, Estelle Grazier, Maxine Kahn, Danny Kallman, Sylvia Katz, Stephen Lazarov, Seymour Levy, Frederick Mayer, Ann Piasek, Ann Plocker, Victor Profus, Dorothy Rosenblum, Sidney Rosenthal, Lester Sack, Rose Satloff, David Satloff, Natalie Schlissel, Julius Sonnenschein, Alan Spett, Samuel Stahl, Howard Stein, Reba Stein, Leonard Tannenbaum, Gabriel Walensky, and Harriet Zellman. If you are in the first 30 days mourning the loss of a loved one, I invite you to please rise and remain standing so our congregation may recognize you. If you're in the first year mourning the loss of a loved one, I invite you to please rise and remain standing. And if you are here this Shabbat commemorating a yahrzeit, I invite you to please rise and remain standing. If it is your custom to rise with those who mourn in memory of those who have no one to say Kaddish for them and for the 6 million who perished in the Shoah, we do so now as a congregation on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'yemru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yit'halal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. 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 Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Jessica, I'm Neil Moss.
Hi. Thank you. Shabbat shalom. I know. trying to get it off. Thank you so much.